going into rheumatologist office and I'm the only one in there under like 75. Hey, welcome Sick Fam. So glad you're here. This channel is for all my chronic illness baddies that are trying to learn more tips and tricks for living with chronic illness. I myself have fibromyalgia, psoriatic arthritis, among others. So I've learned a lot in the last 15 years about what it takes to live your best life with chronic illness. This might be confusing to some because obviously I look fine, but these are what are known as invisible illnesses. So you can't see them, you can't tell that I'm sick. I get sick a lot. Or at least it's easier to say that I'm sick. So I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia when I was 14. I first started developing it. I could tell in my knees, and then by the end of the week I could feel like every bone in my toes hurting. It came on really suddenly. Again, I was just on a camping trip, with some friends and parents, and we just went out on a hike, and my friends had to carry me back. My knees just started hurting way too bad. So that was kind of how it started. Fast forward to, getting a referral to a rheumatologist and waiting to see them, and then undergoing all this testing. And I finally got diagnosed with fibromyalgia. That was kind of a long, year getting there. And, I was a freshman in high school. So trying to do high school on top of becoming suddenly very, very chronically ill was really, really tough. Also, I just felt like my whole life was over at that point. I didn't know anyone my own age, or really anyone under the age of 60 that had it. There was no blogs about it, really. There was no YouTube channels about it. The Instagram presence was which has gotten a lot better, by the way, which I'm so glad about, and I'm glad to be a part of that. I'm so glad that more people feel comfortable sharing their stories around chronic illness, because a long time there was, such stigma about it, really due to a lot of doctors not believing it was a real disease for a long time, especially with fibromyalgia. Arthritis has, been a little bit, better studied and understood over the years, at least certain types, but specifically with fibromyalgia, it used to be in psychology textbooks because they just thought it was all in our heads. So it was, anxiety or, growing pains or, whatever else it was. Obviously, it's a lot more than that, and it's a very, very serious illness. I can say firsthand after living with it since I was 14 that it drastically changed my life. I was basically on the couch for the first few months. I was in pain, depressed, stiff, unable to move, and just dealing with this onslaught of, there's upwards of 100 symptoms of fibromyalgia. So all of a sudden my life just drastically changed, and I couldn't really cope at first. No one really knew what to do for me, especially because being a minor, being 14 years old, the doctors, they diagnosed me, but they said that they couldn't treat me. They didn't want to give me, painkillers or anything that I would be, hooked on for the rest of my life. There was nothing FDA approved for fibromyalgia at that time. Really, they told me that there was nothing they could do to treat me. Fast forward to when I was 18, I had to, go back and see a lot of different doctors and, really try to get treatment then. I was dealing with it on my own completely for the first 4 years, and that was incredibly rough. There were just no resources for young people at that time, especially. And I can't tell you how many times I heard, "Oh, you're too young for that." Or you're too young to be this tired, or, everything of that nature. Honestly, some people were really rude about it, or just didn't believe it. And also I would just get sick a lot in addition to flaring. So that was really, really hard. It was hard to go through high school. It was hard to go through college. More on that later. But it's really just not something a lot of people understand, which can really, become really isolating. You need people to relate to. You need to see representation like yourself. I was going into rheumatologist office and I'm the only one in there under 75. That was really hard, and then on top of that, to have to fight to be believed constantly. knowing that this is real what I'm feeling. You know, I know my body. You always know your body better than anyone else, and you know when something's wrong, and something was definitely wrong. It's not something a lot of people can understand and relate to. I think ultimately, if you've never experienced full-time chronic pain, it's not something you can even really fathom. I mean, it's so hard to imagine. I could have never imagined what this was like before I was experiencing it myself. It can feel really lonely at times. And so I was really seeking community and seeking space. But finally, last year, I started my community on Instagram. You can check it out at Fibro Girl blog. But that is like, having that has been a game changer for me. Like, having other people to talk to that know what I'm going through, that just get it, is like the easiest thing in the world. You don't realize how much you truly need that until you just like haven't had it for so long, and then you experience just, you're not having to work so hard to describe things because they've gone through it themselves and they know exactly what you're talking about. They know exactly, you know, the pains that you're describing, and the pain points you might have had along the way, the struggles you have had. They can relate, and having people you relate to just changes everything. It removes that isolation so much, even though it is online. The chronic illness community online is everything. I've learned so much, and if you're not on there, I highly recommend getting involved, because seriously, it is the place. The comments, y'all, it is the place. I've also got lots of tips and tricks videos coming on here about my psoriasis, my struggles with fibromyalgia, things that I've tried in the past. I've tried a little bit of everything over the years, and I look forward to sharing so much more with you. Again, thank you for being here. Join us on Instagram at Fibro Girl blog, and I'll see you in my next video. Thanks.